There are moments in life when everything stops. The noise fades, the distractions fall away. And in that stillness, this is it. Something has to change. August 2, 2025 is not about a date on the calendar. It is a symbol, a line in the sand. For many of you listening right now, it will be the day you remember as the moment you woke up. For too long, you've been walking around carrying wounds that nobody sees. You've been trying to be strong, trying to do everything on your own, trying to prove your worth to a world that barely notices you. And inside, you feel like you're losing yourself. But what if I told you that this season of pain, of silence, of being hidden is not the end of your story? What if I told you that the same place that has felt like a prison could become the place where your life finally turns? This message is urgent, not because time is running out, but because you don't have to wait another day to begin. Today can be your turning point. If you are willing to let go of who you've been, everything can change. You know that moment when life knocks you flat, when everything you thought you could count on crumbles. I'm talking about the kind of moment where you wake up one morning and realize you can't keep living the same way anymore. Maybe it's a breakup that ripped your heart open. Maybe it's a failure that embarrassed you. Maybe it's just the slow build of years feeling invisible and overlooked. That moment feels like the end. But I need you to hear me on this. Sometimes the lowest point in your life isn't the end. It's the wake-up call. It's life shaking you by the shoulders saying, "This can't continue. You can't keep going like this." And in that moment, you have a choice. You can stay down there. You can keep telling yourself the same story about how you're unlucky, about how nothing ever works out for you. You can look at that rock bottom as a place to build a foundation. That's the only good thing about being at the bottom. There's nowhere left to hide from yourself. The distractions, the excuses, all of it gets stripped away. And what you're left with is a clear look at your life. I know it hurts. I know you want it to be easier. But pain is honest. Pain tells you what needs to change. That ache in your chest when you see someone living the life you want, that's information. That frustration when you realize how much time you've wasted, that's energy waiting to be used. And the truth is, most people will ignore it. They'll numb it out with scrolling, with drinking, with anything that keeps them from feeling it. But not you. Not if you're serious about changing your life. If you are in that place right now, if it feels dark and hopeless, I want you to see it for what it really is. A gift wrapped in the ugliest paper. Because the truth is, you can't rise until you decide to stop living small. You can't step into something new until you get so sick of where you are that you refuse to stay there. That's what this moment is. It's the line between who you've been and who you're about to become. One of the hardest things to accept in life is the feeling that you're being hidden. You try, you show up, you work on yourself, but it feels like no one sees you. It's like you're invisible. You watch other people get the attention, the opportunities, the relationships, and you start to wonder, what's wrong with me? Why does nobody notice? That invisible season can crush you if you let it. But I want you to flip how you see it. Because what if that hidden season is actually a gift? What if it's not punishment, but preparation? Here's what I've learned: growth doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens in the shadows. When life hides you, it's not because you're not worthy. It's because you're not ready yet. And that's not an insult. It's an invitation. Think about it. When no one's watching, you're free to make mistakes. You're free to practice. You're free to fail, get back up, and build the muscle you're going to need later when the world does see you. If the spotlight came too soon, it would crush you. You wouldn't have the strength or the wisdom to hold it. But hidden seasons feel lonely, don't they? They make you question your worth. And that's why so many people quit during this time. They think, if no one sees me, what's the point? Here's the point: these are the years that forge you. These are the days you build grit, patience, and character. Nobody claps. Nobody notices. But these are the days that count the most. So if you feel like you're in that space right now where no one sees you, I want you to stop asking, why me? And start asking, what is this building in me? Because it's building something. Strength, discipline, depth. Every rep you put in when nobody's watching will pay off later. You may not see it now, but one day, all that hidden work will surface. And when it does, people will think you came out of nowhere. They won't know about these days, but you will. And you'll know, was the hidden season that made you ready. You can't carry everything with you if you want to move forward. And I'm not talking about stuff you own. I'm talking about the weight you've been dragging around in your heart and in your head. The anger, the regret, the shame from mistakes you made years ago, the way you keep replaying old conversations, old failures, old heartbreak. It's heavy, and it's not just heavy, it's slowing you down. Every single day you wake up and try to take a step forward, but it's like you're walking with a 100-pound backpack you refuse to take off. Here's the truth. You will not become the man you want to be if you refuse to put it down. You've got to start unloading. And I know why you hold on to it. Because part of you thinks you deserve to feel bad about it forever. Or you think if you keep replaying it, you can somehow undo it. But it doesn't work like that. Carrying it doesn't protect you from pain. It just keeps you stuck in it. Letting go isn't about pretending it didn't happen. It's about deciding it's not going to run your life anymore. You made mistakes. Welcome to being human. You've been hurt. That means you've lived. Those things happened, but they are not who you are anymore. Every time you choose to forgive yourself, every time you choose to drop a little piece of that weight, you create space. Space for peace. Space for clarity. Space for the new version of yourself you're trying to grow into. And don't get me wrong, it's not easy. Letting go isn't a one-time decision. It's a daily practice. It's waking up every morning and choosing to not let yesterday's pain ruin today's opportunity. It's refusing to let that old story control how you see yourself. Here's what happens when you start doing this. You get lighter. You start to feel like you can breathe again. And suddenly, the future stops feeling impossible. You realize that the only reason you've been stuck is because you've been trying to carry too much. Put it down. You'll be amazed how much further you can go without all that weight. You know why most people can't hear themselves think? because the world is loud and they never stop long enough to listen. Every second of every day, scrolling, notifications, conversations, advice, judgment. It's constant. And if you're not careful, that noise will drown out your own voice. That's why turning inward isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Here's the truth: nobody can tell you who you are. They can guess. They can project their opinions. But only you know what you want, what you believe, what you need. And you'll never hear that if you don't create space for it. That's why you've got to learn how to get quiet. I'm not talking about disappearing forever. I'm talking about moments of intentional stillness where it's just you and your thoughts. No distractions, no outside noise. At first, that silence is going to feel unbearable. You'll want to grab your phone. You'll want to turn on music. You'll want to do anything but sit there with yourself. Why? Because silence brings up everything you've been running from. Your fears, your doubts, your insecurities. And it feels uncomfortable. But here's the magic: if you can sit in it long enough, you'll start to hear something underneath all that fear. You'll hear clarity. You'll hear your own voice for the first time in a long time. That's where everything starts to change. Because when you know yourself, when you're no longer relying on everyone else to tell you who to be, you start living differently. You stop reacting to every opinion. You stop chasing approval. You stop being pulled in 100 directions. Turning inward is how you begin to take back control. 5 minutes a day of stillness can shift everything. That's where your decisions get clearer, your vision gets sharper, and your sense of self gets stronger. So if you feel like you've lost yourself, like you don't know what to do next, here's what I want you to do. For a few minutes today, get quiet. No phone, just you. It won't be easy. But the answers you're looking for aren't out there. They're in you. And you'll never find them if you keep running from the silence. At some point, you're going to have to decide that your past doesn't get to be the author of your future. And I know that sounds simple, but it's the hardest choice you'll ever make. Because for years, you've been living on autopilot, reacting to things that already happened. You've been replaying old pain like it's your job. And without even realizing it, you've been letting your past set the course for every decision you make. But here's the truth. You can't undo what happened to you. You can't change what you did, who hurt you, who left, or who didn't show up. None of that is in your control anymore. What is in your control is what you do next. And that single choice, to stop letting the old story run the show, is the one that changes everything. Making that decision doesn't mean it suddenly gets easy. It means you stop living like a victim of your circumstances and start living like someone who has a say in their own life. You get to choose who you're becoming. You get to choose what your life looks like from this point forward. And that choice is more powerful than anything that happened before. This is the fork in the road that most people never take. They let fear of failing again, fear of being hurt again, fear of looking stupid keep them stuck. But let me tell you something: fear is a liar. Fear is just a story about what might happen. And you've already survived the worst of it. You've already proven that you can get through hard things. So why not try again? Why not choose to build a life that excites you instead of one that drains you? Every day, you're going to be faced with two choices: keep living the same way or take a step towards something better. And here's the thing. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need to start. You just need to choose differently today than you did yesterday. That's it. Because at the end of the day, your life changes the moment you decide it will, not next year. Not when someone else finally shows up. Now. This is the choice that changes everything. When you finally start doing this work, pulling back, getting quiet, letting go, and choosing differently, there comes a moment when you realize you've changed. And it doesn't happen overnight. It's slow. At first, you don't even notice it. But one day, you walk into a room and you carry yourself differently. You're calmer. You're not desperate for anyone's attention. You listen more. You see more. And people feel that. That's presence. That's what happens when you stop chasing everything outside of you and start building what's inside. Becoming the man who steps into his calling doesn't mean you suddenly have all the answers. It doesn't mean life stops being messy. It means you've built the kind of strength and clarity that allows you to show up no matter what. You start leading your own life instead of waiting for someone else to do it for you. And that's what people respect. That's what attracts the relationships, opportunities, and experiences you've been chasing. Here's what nobody tells you. The man you're becoming doesn't need to be loud about it. He doesn't need to explain it. He doesn't need to prove it. He's grounded. He's steady. He knows who he is. And that changes everything. And the best part, you get to build this version of yourself. You get to decide every single day to choose focus instead of distraction, boundaries instead of chaos, courage instead of fear. Those small decisions stack, and over time, they transform you from someone who feels lost into someone who knows exactly where he's headed. So if you've been waiting for someone to give you permission to step up, here it is. You don't need to wait anymore. You don't need to be rescued. You don't need a sign. You are the sign. The fact that you're listening to this, that something in you knows it's time to rise. That's your moment. There's a life that's waiting for you, but it's not going to meet you halfway. You're going to have to take the "I want you to hear me" on this before you click away. Your life is not over. You are not too far gone. You are not behind. You are right on time for the life you've been avoiding. But here's the truth that most people don't want to admit. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to hand you the confidence, the clarity, the relationships, the future you dream about. That's your job. And I know that's hard to hear. But the moment you take that responsibility back is the moment everything in your life starts to change. Stop waiting. Stop explaining. Stop telling yourself the same story over and over again about why you can't. Today is the day you draw a line in the sand and say, "Enough. From now on, I build me." And if something in this hit you, if you felt it in your chest while you were listening, don't let that feeling fade. Do something with it. Like this video so you remember this moment. Share it with someone you know who needs this exact same wake-up call. Leave me a comment about the one decision you're making today to change your life. And subscribe, because we're going to keep showing up for each other and doing the work. Your life doesn't change when you watch a video. It changes when you decide. Decide now.